Hello everyone, this is radial pattern development number 1. There's a couple things we're going to do here. I have one that's already fairly close to done. Basically I'm going to recreate this over here to the side so you can kind of follow along with what we're doing. There's a couple things I want to do real quick. In this case, if we haven't worked through layer properties at this point, I'm pulling this up under layers. I'm going to show you that I was able to hide this polar array within a different section and underneath another layer. Okay, so I'm going to turn that polar array back off and we're going to go ahead and start working through this again. Alright, so again, basically what I started with here is we have a 2.5 inch base. There's a couple different things you can do from here. We could do a fillet command of this one, and this one shows us where the apex is, but a lot of times we end up we lose our top section there. So let's Control Z this, and sometimes I like to be able to put that on a separate layer as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take a polyline, and I'm going to go from here, and I just go up and cross it, escape, repeat polyline, and do the same thing. Okay, it's putting one layer over top of another. Yes, we have duplicate lines, but it's okay. Alright, we're going to trim. We're going to pick this line and this line, right click, eliminate those two. So now we're going to create this bottom circle on this section. I like to use, you could easily find midpoint and then do center radius, but in a case like this, a lot of times I'll just come over and I'll do a 2-point circle to make sure that I am hitting both those outside lines, and there's no mistake there because it's snapping to my reference points. Okay, I'm going to leave this on just like that. Then I want to come in here, I'm going to take a polyline. The second I come close to this outside edge, it shows me the center point, and I'm going to go ahead and come straight down. Okay, when I have it straight down, as you can tell, I'm going to incorporate that into my pattern anyway. Alright, so what I like to do with this is now I'm going to take this and turn this into a polar array. You can do it several different sections. Let me start with this. So polar array, I selected the object I want to array, right click, it's going to ask me for the base point. Brings me up. Now I'm going to put in my 12 functions. Remember, if we're doing pipe fitting, particularly if we want to do 22s and 45s, then we want to go to 16 sections instead, right? So it does help, especially if you're thinking about fittings, is if you're going to lay a piece of pipe out on the ticker paper like I showed you in the past, then we would do 16 sections instead of 12. Okay, all right, 12 gives us 360 divided by 12 gives us 30-degree increments at that point. So when you look at that, we'll be able to figure that out and go from there. Okay, alright, let me close this array, and it gave me my 12 points. Now you notice these 12 points are just like this. If I want, I can come up here and I can explode them individually. So here it's going to ask me select object there, and then enter, and then each one of these lines is individual. Okay, so now I can erase the top half if I would like. And I just come through and delete those, and I would want to trim this out in this section. So let's go ahead and trim, and we need to select the two pieces on top that we want to trim with. Right click, we're going to go to this, and this line. Let me go ahead and go right over this one. We go there, enter, and then right click, repeat polyline. Same thing. See how the green line tells me where I am going straight up? I can escape, right click, repeat polyline, and then boom, straight up to my green line again, and right click. And now if I want, like in, I hope that you watch Malcolm's video as well, we could mirror these two. We'd want to mirror this one and this one about this face, but in all honesty, for me it's almost just as quick to be able to go this way, because what I do next is I actually take a repeat polyline and I go from here to there, and then just straight to that point. I'm going to go ahead and come back down to there, escape, repeat polyline, go to there, and repeat again. Okay. To there. And sometimes even in this case, I'm going to go ahead and make my yellow lines on my outside divisions, just because if I wanted to put that on a separate layer and get rid of the entire base piece, now I have all of my pieces that I can reference from in yellow. All right. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and go to a circle. In this case, I do need the center radius because everything is going to come off the center radius. I want to reference to the outside line, but now I made this one yellow. Say I wanted to switch it back to white. Let me click on this line, and from here I just come back and switch it to white. Okay, and escape, and we're right back to it. I'm going to repeat my circle. I'm going to come close. Oops. Come close to it. Repeat circle. Come close. And it's going to grab the same radius and the same center point. Okay. Come back to here. And again, turn that to white. Turn that one back to white as well. Okay. Now, the next step is to create this first starting line. Okay, so I'm going to do a polyline from here, and I always like my starting line to be long. Okay, it doesn't have to be way out here, but I usually typically like to put it just a little bit past this point there. All right. When you're doing cone radial shapes, there's a lot of times you might want to do a longer piece or a bigger piece. So we can do these in different incremental sessions. So adding a 1/2 inch, adding 1 inch, you can do a whole lot of patterns just off of layering in this one exact piece. Okay, so you've got a 2-inch vent pipe that's very common in plumbing. My apex up here at the top is going to be the same, but my base piece might be different depending on my length. So from here to here might be multiple dimensions, say 10 inch, 12 inch, 14, 16, and I can just, once I save this file, I would save it as a 2-inch vent pipe apex, or just 2-inch vent pipe straight base, and I could come back and have different increments and different layers within doing this without having to redraw the whole thing 10 times. All right. Okay, so now we need to create the 12 different divisions over here so that we can actually put that out. I'm going to come back to circle. Again, I go back to my 2-point line. I go from here to there, and I want to copy. And I'm going to select the object, right click. It's going to ask me where my center point is. There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right. At this point, I'm going to escape out of here. Sorry. And then I'm going to come back to a polyline, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it with, I'm going to switch it back over to a yellow. Okay. And from here, I'm going to go, and you know, Malcolm makes a good point in his video to make sure that you're not snapping to that or to this. So when you get close, make sure you're actually hitting where you want to be. We're going to go from there and then back to, as you can see, it sometimes gives you a fit. So escape, repeat polyline, we'll start here again, and then back to this one, escape, repeat polyline. You get far away, naturally it's harder. Here to there, escape, repeat polyline, and go from here to there, back to here, escape, repeat polyline, and we will have one last one. Okay. So there's a couple different versions you can do. You know, it doesn't, especially on this, when you roll it out, it's not really going to make a difference if you're going straight point to point when I line and do this. So if I were to follow this along in order to get that nice arc shape in here, I would need to do a couple different things. Okay, so before I even start, usually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another circle over top of this one and over top of this one, color them red and change them, because now we're making our pattern. And just bear with me for a second and you'll see exactly what I mean here in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to go circle, but I need to do center radius, so I'm going to go off of that one. I'll put it there and repeat circle here to there. Okay, so in this case now I've got my two reds, and I'm going to pick those up here in a minute and move that entire pattern over, and then I can trim from there. Okay, come back to a polyline. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to go to my first line right there. Now I break this up, and I need to repeat polyline again, and I'm going to start from there to there. Okay, so what I can do then is I'm going to take this, 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 and this red one, and I'm going to modify them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to join them. I'm going to join them, and then I'm going to copy this, 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 and they're going to ask me for a base point. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to bring it over here like that. Escape. Now I can come back, and these are all in different versions. Now I can use my trim function if I want and select all of this. What's an easier way to do that? Naturally, I could come back and I could trim it, select, and select the entire thing. Now I'm going to right click, and I would trim this and this, and there's my pattern. Okay, all right, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Wasn't too bad, and as you can tell, you can start to layer these things in and around. All right, have a good day. We'll see you in parallel or radial line development number 2 next.